Hello, everyone. It's week 6, and the buys are finally here. The buys are upon us. But hey, here at Next Week Tonight, we already did that. So it's on to week 7. You guys know the drill. Let's go. Welcome to Next Week Tonight. That's right. So, another week, another just list of players that we have been adding in the past weeks that suddenly have been through injuries or just breakout games pushed to the forefront. And I put out a tweet earlier this week. It was Tuesday night, actually, saying, hey, listen, I apologize if you're following Next Week Tonight, if you've been watching, if you've been listening, even if you've just been reading the article on the website. I'm sorry, you probably had a pretty boring Tuesday night because we already had everybody. So we'll go over all of that. Hopefully we have some new ones. Not a lot of ads today. Really focused this week on getting you through the bye week with some streamers, some tough week 7 buys. Let's jump right into it. As always, we're going to do a quick blitz here. That's going to get cut out and put into another little podcast. And then we're going to go in depth through all of it. And you're here with the video, you're getting all of it. So let's jump right in. Week 7. That's it. This is just what we're doing here. Guys, we are right about in the middle there. The streaming the picks for free. We're into the bye weeks. I know I've done a lot of trades in the past. We're going to be focusing more on trades here in the coming weeks. You get into weeks 8, 9, 10. You start getting up against some people's trade deadlines. So we'll definitely be talking about trades in the coming weeks. But weeks 6 and 7 are unique in that we're really getting into the first bye weeks. You're really trying to have that depth set and ready to go and help you navigate all of those bye weeks. Here's the bye weeks for week 7. It's the Buffalo Bills, Los Angeles Rams, Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles. So you're looking at, I try to put out the players here. If you're on the video, you're going to see it. But the Bills and the Eagles, those are two top quarterbacks in Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, right? Even wide receivers, you got Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson. Those are, and AJ Brown even. Okay, those are all top tier wide receiver ones. And even backup flexes, you could have Davis, McKenzie. I left a letter off his name there. Thielen, Devonta Smith's had some good games. And not as much with the running backs, but you do have Dalvin Cook there, and Miles Sanders been doing all right too for you. And then, of course, Higbee and Goddard, who hopefully you were able to get him last week. So we have some, basically everybody to replace in these weeks, in week 7. So let's jump right to it. Let's run over it in blitz style. Week 7, we've got quarterbacks you can stream: Jacoby Brissett, Davis Mills. Okay, Brissett's Cleveland at Baltimore, and Davis Mills, Houston at Las Vegas. Running backs, you got DJ Dallas, Seattle at LA Clippers. Chargers, not Clippers. I just saw the LAC and thought Clippers. Rex Burkhead, Pierce is doing great, but he's still going to be flex worthy in a bye week. Houston at Las Vegas. A bunch of Houston guys in here you're going to notice. You could stack these up because we got Nico Collins. I'm sure Nico Collins is very nice, but he's Nico Collins, not nice Collins. My bad. Houston at Las Vegas, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, Cleveland at Baltimore. I'm trying to get you little stacks there. These are two really good matchups to target between either wide receiver or quarterback. Okay, and then at tight end, Hayden Hurst. This one might be out of the bag, but there it is. He had a good week 5, but hopefully you got him from the week before that when we were streaming him as well. And Mo Alley Cox if you need somebody that's probably going to be available. All right, so that was it for tight ends. Lastly, we got some defenses. I always put kicker and defenses down here. I never have a kicker for you. I'm sorry, guys. But defense is Green Bay at Washington. There, it's hit or miss as far as ownership on Green Bay, and also same thing for the Colts. Indianapolis playing at Tennessee. One of those guys probably going to be around for you, hopefully. Okay, so thanks for joining me. If you were just here for the blitz, you just wanted to get it and get out, that's fine. See you later, or maybe you can catch the rest of the show later. All right, we're going to dive straight into the full show now. So let's go back a few and talk about week 7. Like I said, those are the players and teams on bye: Bills, Rams, Vikings, Eagles. So Brissett's been really actually impressive. Not quite Geno Smith kind of impressive. And I probably could have put Geno Smith up on as one of these streamers, but he's almost ascended beyond that. A lot of people are picking him up. So Jacoby Brissett is somebody who is still actually giving you a solid floor, and he has a decent ceiling even. But, I mean, he's not going to pull off some big 30-point game probably, but he's probably going to get you 15 at least. So great as a fill-in. Davis Mills hasn't been doing so great, but playing the Raiders, I think this is an environment where he's going to be pushed. And you've got, I do think Brandon Cooks, he's been not doing great, but he hasn't really been converting on big plays and touchdowns. He's been getting the work. Still the largest target share, speaking of Brandon Cooks. But there's a lot can go right for the Texans in the passing game, and we'll get into it with the next guys when we get to wide receivers. DJ Dallas, he is going to get some opportunity. I know with the Rashad Penny injury, of course, Kenneth Walker is going to be stepping up into that role as the starter, but there's probably going to be room for more of these other guys also to get more work. Travis Homer is more of a true backup. I'm not even sure he has any targets over the last 3 weeks. DJ Dallas, in the meantime, does second most targets over the last 3 weeks. So I would lean towards him being the more of the receiving guy. And in a game against the Chargers, they might need that. They might be using him more in that role. So there you go. You got a shot. But I do think Burkhead also similarly has a shot with Houston, passing the ball a little bit more if they're down to the Raiders. Burkhead it's been mixed. It's been 7 points here, 6 points, and then 14 another week. So it really depends on, does he catch enough passes to get that floor up, and does he get lucky with a touchdown to really make it a good week. Nico Collins. So again, like I was saying, yeah, Brandon Cooks could do better if it's just a few things go his way. That obviously would help Davis Mills as well. But Nico Collins is also coming along nicely, and I think he is. I think he's a candidate for a breakout as far as receivers go in the coming weeks. So, and they've got some good matchups coming, including obviously this one. So he would be one in a deeper redraft. I would be stashing. I'm sure he's owned in a dynasty. You might be able to get him thrown into a part of a larger trade you're doing. Just keep an eye out. Always keep an eye out for who players, other teams are on their bench that you might be able to get thrown in. I did that same thing with Donovan Peoples-Jones when I traded for last week. I traded for Dallas Goedert. I told you I got Donovan Peoples-Jones thrown in on that deal. So that he's been getting the work. He is absolutely getting the work. It's still hit or miss, but that's fine. Cleveland at Baltimore is precisely the kind of game and the kind of defense that's giving up big plays that really fits DPJ's, abilities to have a big play. Pretty much that's it. That's what we're looking for. Tight ends. Hayden Hurst, like I said, he had a great week 5, 20 points or something like that. No, I don't think so. That was a premium. I'm thinking of a premium game. But he is putting up the points. It helped that Higgins was out, and that's probably going to continue in week 6. Hopefully he's back by week 7. But even so, Atlanta is giving up a lot of points to the tight end. And so it could still be just fine for him. If he doesn't have a great week 6, maybe he's out there week 7. I know we love to pick up these guys a week ahead of time, but that might be a case where it's just something you're aware of and you're not going to be scared off of a bad week 6 if he just happens to have a bad week 6. I don't know if he will, but he could. Mo Alley Cox on the Colts is a guy who is going to be available most likely if Hurst is not. Again, Tennessee giving up points to tight ends just across the board, receptions, touchdowns, everything, yards. So if Mo Alley Cox is available, he would be a guy I'd look at. They've been leaning on those tight ends, especially for touchdowns. Ryan is not throwing. I think I heard something. He's just not throwing downfield past 20 air yards. It's just not happening right now. So it's a little stagnant, but that does mean some shorter passes to the big guys. So there we go. Green Bay, Washington. You know how it is. You just saw Washington. I mean, Wentz is always a shot to give up interception, and he is always going to be giving up the sacks. Lots and lots of sacks given up by Wentz. So hopefully you're scoring, and I'm assuming it does when I do these, your scoring is giving you a point for each sack. So that's creates a great floor when you can play against Wentz and the Commanders. The Colts, again, playing Tennessee at Tennessee. Tennessee's been struggling. I mean, I was pushing for Tennessee against Washington last week and saying you can play those quarterbacks. And Wentz did have a great game. We'll get to that. Tannehill, not so much. I think about 14, 15 points. So that's kind of one where I was really hoping and giving Tennessee and Tannehill a little bit of benefit of the doubt, thinking, okay, those were bad matches they've had. Now they've got a good one. What are they going to do with it? And they didn't. They really didn't. So that's one where, it's kind of like at the same time, the Colts defense has been great at holding players, opposing offenses. So those two things combined, I love Henry and I hope he has a great game where I need him to, but that doesn't mean, he can still have a pretty decent game, but the rest of the offense they're just not doing it. Burks is still out. It just doesn't look good. Woods, I'm sorry, he's not recovered. He's not his old self. Maybe he is his old self. I don't know. He is getting older. So that's that for the streamers. Like I said, nothing for ads and everything today. Some of those ads, I mean, Nico Collins is an ad basically, but I've also made him a stream. Okay, so just think of it that way. That's why I had multiple ones for you. Okay, so week 6 last week. So if you're coming into this week 6, again, you do have buys. So you maybe still want to know or look into these guys. Wan'Dale Robinson needs to be picked up. Not activated yet, so you still have a shot. Same thing with Van Jefferson. Didn't play week 5. Daniel Bellinger as a really deep one. And guys, if you've been watching, go back to past show. There's other tight ends and players, that aren't going to show up on this list that I've been saying that would probably tell you to go after before Daniel Bellinger. You have to understand that there's, a ranking to these things. Use a little bit of common sense. Obviously, Hayden Hurst over Daniel Bellinger. But there are some guys like Cade Otton who I probably would still take ahead of Daniel Bellinger. And then last week, Jacoby Myers, like I said, I don't know why, but I saw him on a bunch of waiver wires. Easy. Now everybody wants to pick him up on waivers the next week. You should have known. He's back playing the Lions. I don't care if it's a rookie quarterback or not. He's just gonna do what Mac Jones was doing and pepper his safety, his blanket, Jacoby Myers in the slot, just feeding him. All right. Anyway, Tony Galladay, AJ Green drops. Rondale. Okay, this one's probably a fail or a loss. In context, I wasn't saying go out of your way. I was saying don't be afraid to drop Rondale to go after some of these other guys with higher upsides at other positions that you need. Or even in the case of Wandale, it was more of like, I want you to pick up some of these guys and you can drop some of these guys. Now, in a lot of cases, what Rondale Moore is still very much rosterable. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be rostered when I say you can drop him. I'm just saying that's the kind of player I'm saying. That's where I would draw the line for Wandale. All right, so we've got again, this is week 6 recap. I was telling you, trade for Dallas Goedert. Sure enough, what's he do? Goes off for, I should have had it up here, something like 6 or 7 receptions, 80 something, 90 something yards. So I think he got a good 15 points even in normal PPR. He still didn't get that touchdown. So it didn't quite qualify as a big game, but it was his biggest non-touchdown game yet. And I mean, that's why I was saying go get him. There is still room in this. That's another thing I was looking at this week. Every week on Twitter, Tuesday night, I try to do it Tuesday night. Sometimes it comes out Wednesday, or I put out a couple different data tweets. One of them is team-wide usage trends. So maybe I can even pull this up here. But basically the idea about that is that there's a lot of things we can learn from looking at how a team, I do have it here, looking how a team is utilizing its players and its plays. So we're going to go ahead and pull this up over here. Yep. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. So this is the trend sheet. And I tweeted this out already so you guys could see it. And what I did was I sorted it by the total teams fantasy points. So you can see, okay, these are Buffalo, Kansas City, Minnesota. These are the teams that are putting up points. And I said, okay, who looks a little out of place, Well, obviously these are sorted. And I noticed, okay, it seems to be very much following, passing rate, right? The passing teams and then the non-passing teams, Dallas, Houston, right? Chicago. But looking up here, I noticed, well, there's an unusual one here. Where did it go? This isn't what I was looking at earlier. Anyway, you could see that Philadelphia. Yeah, here we go. Philadelphia still has a lot of targets to give. They're giving a lot of them to tight end. Okay, that's good. We like that. And it's mostly the quarterback rushing. Okay. But they essentially have room to grow in the passing game, is all I'm trying to say. For those on the podcast, I apologize. But basically all I'm trying to say is the Eagles have plenty of room to continue improving in the passing game. Their pass attempts are not crazy high. They are rushing a good amount, but a lot of that is the quarterback rushing. So all Hurts has to do is dial that back a little bit, and those turn immediately into passes, because that's what happens. People talking about. I was having a debate with someone on Twitter about Jeff Wilson way back week 2, and that's when Trey Lance was still healthy and playing for San Francisco, and he was saying that Trey Lance is going to hurt Jeff Wilson. We can't just look at what Jeff Wilson's done in the past. My point was like, well, no, because there's only a few runs that would have been Wilson runs that Trey Lance is taking. Typically, what's happening with a running quarterback is they are taking passes. They are taking targets away and scrambling. So they're actually taking targets away from the receivers. Rushing quarterbacks hurt receivers more than it hurts the other running backs. Yes, it can hurt the running backs too, but more so the receivers. And that's my point here with the amount that Hurts is rushing and running. We've seen it with we've seen it with Jackson, Lamar Jackson, and he is running a lot this year, and I can prove that showing it by the rush rate of quarterbacks. You can see it's Philadelphia and Baltimore up at the top of that. Um, I mean, that just has to come back to a little bit more normal levels, and it's going to turn into targets. It's not going to turn into rushes by other running backs. I mean, maybe one or two of them, but more of it's going to turn back into targets, into passes. That's all I was trying to say. So, Goddard has room to grow. A.J. Brown, if you want to go after him, kind of flying under the wide receiver one, a little bit under the wide receiver one radar. You know, there was a player I had as an ad, and I forgot that I didn't put him on a slide. It just hit me. We'll come back around to that in a second because it's connected here. Drake London, wide receiver. The Falcons are struggling. He had, at the time I said this, second highest target share. Now he has the third highest because for some reason he was down to like 62% route participation in week 5. I don't know what's going on. It's like they're actively, it's really like the Falcons are actively tanking. Really is. But anyway, they're in Atlanta. I was going to say, look out for on waivers, Damian Williams. He was getting a majority share of work in the one drive he was active at the beginning of the season before he got hurt. Technically, he's off IR and he can come back now, but it sounds like he still need another week. So week 7, I would be when I would be thinking you're going to see Damian Williams. It didn't look great with Huntley and Algier, so I could see Damian Williams getting the majority share, being the starter when he gets in there. Will the actual fantasy points be great? I don't know. But he is somebody you want to look into. And just like I said with Drake London, there's a possibility. Matt Rule is gone in Carolina Panthers. I think it comes down to either Rivera or Arthur Smith here in Falcons as being the next quarterback fired. If it's Arthur Smith, again, it can't get worse. Is utilization. Obviously, I like London's target share, but I mean, man, I swear, like I was saying with the not having him in there for all the routes, only 62% route participation out of nowhere. That's really weird. I had the take of trading away Romeo Doubs. I stand by this one because even this week, past week 5, yeah, he had work, but the more we see of mediocre games from Romeo Doubs, the less people will pay you for him. Just saying. Our streamers, Daniel Jones, if you need one this week, I've got him going in at least one as a streamer. I've got him in some super flex as a starter, but I'm streaming him at least one single quarterback. Great option. I think it's my home league, which means probably do terrible. Benjamin. So yeah, for 2 weeks we were saying Benjamin. This is week 5 as well. And you know what? Sometimes you just put yourself in a position to be successful, and that's all it takes. And I know people get a little uneasy, and they, they want to say you're victory lapping an injury. I was going to say injury lapping. That doesn't make sense. You're victory lapping an injury and that's so mean and all this stuff. And really putting yourself in a good position in case the worst happens, that's not victory lapping. That's just being prepared. I mean, you don't get happy that if your house burns down, you had fire insurance. You feel vindicated. Oh yeah, I made a good choice. I had fire insurance. I was well prepared. Like you're not happy about the fire, but you're happy you had the insurance. Does it make sense? Like it's okay. We can put ourselves in positions to profit if a certain scenario does happen. And when we talk about process over results, and I can say I want process with results, but all that we're really saying is we we have a process that tells us there's a likelihood that this is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it will. I think it very likely could. And here's the move you can do that you would most profit for if that did happen, right? Sometimes other things happen that we thought were less likely. And that's just, we couldn't predict it. You never know. I do look for and hope for a pattern of success. If the things you keep saying are the most likely to happen continue to not happen, maybe your process is not identifying the most likely scenarios very well, right? So you need to still identify those things properly. But, Benjamin, it's been what before? Algier, right? We did it with him. I mean, so many times we've talked about it. And we'll come back to that. But there was a number of situations. KJ Osborne actually had a decent game in week 5. Did what I'm saying he could do here in week 6. Richie James, I'm not sure, man. I think by week 6, I really need to look into if Wan'Dale is going to be back. Richie James still isn't cutting it, so he needs to be replaced. Will Disley week 6 if you need somebody, and Harrison Bryant versus the Patriots, who are giving up a lot of mostly touchdowns. Bryant's due for a touchdown. He's been getting actually the targets more than you would have expected. So go ahead. Bengals against the Saints, especially like this. I don't know if the Saints are going to have Winston or not. Jameis is still questionable. If he doesn't, great. If he does, okay, still fine. It looks like Landry and Michael Thomas are out. This team's a little bit of a mess right now. So the Saints, I should say. So yeah, start your defense against them by all means. All right. I want to pull up this thing. So I made a quick little sheet, and I don't know. You can say I'm just trying to toot my own horn or what, but basically it points out, and I put this up on Twitter. It pointed out I wanted to have something that really showed the calls we had specifically for early waiver ads, getting ahead of the waiver wire. And I wanted to show the actual reasoning I had at the time that I made the take and then what actually happened. And I wanted to be able to show what the take was, what am I doing with who? And I wanted to show when I said it to prove how far out ahead we were. And again, it's Jeff Wilson. It's Jaylen Warren. He outscored Najee Harris at 51% target snap share. And Coach Tomlin's talking about how his role is going to continue to increase. I mean, that hits on 2 takes. That hits on the Najee preseason takes too. Raheem Morris, like I said, I got lucky on that one. I'm not even trying to deny it. Conklin, Higbee, Otton in a deep dynasties, right? Algier here. Kenneth Walker, we were reminding people double check. And again, we were streaming, Benjamin. And we were saying double check for Jacoby Myers. This isn't even all of them, and it's definitely doesn't include the trades and doesn't include the streamers. I had this up and I made this because, like I said, I really wanted to come back around and evaluate, is the process working? It's working, guys. It is 100% working. I hope you're with us for this. I know it sounds crazy at the time, guys. I know it does. I'm sitting on a team right now where I've got Ayuk not doing great. I need to cut somebody so I can get a new quarterback in because Goff is on bye. So even if I cut Goff, right, I'm still just now back to um, the roster size. I still need to cut somebody so I can add a new quarterback. And I'm having to decide between like Brian Robinson or Ayuk or Curtis Samuel. I mean, two of those guys even, and then two of those guys were locking early this week. And so, I have to decide is Ayuk really worth it? Or do I stash? In my case, I need a quarterback because of the bye week. What I'm saying is at the beginning of the season, there were players that you had on the end of your bench that you were confident were more valuable than Jeff Wilson. They weren't. They weren't even close. And that's going to happen real quick with Jaylen Warren. If Najee does worse or gets hurt or it's revealed that he is hurt, it's going to happen. We saw it happen, how quick it happened for Kenneth Walker, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is I know it feels weird and sounds weird to make some of these moves, but I don't want them to just be hindsight moves and say, you should have known. I want to be able to point to teams, my own teams, your teams, where you did what I had here and it worked out. And that is a tough thing I've talked about before, the getting from where I come up with the takes to when I see it actually come to fruition. And sometimes it happens and I'm like, I don't know how that happened. I don't know if I'm just lucky. I'm not typically that lucky person. But I mean, Raheem Mostert, right? I said, go ahead. Start in week 2 as a streamer, which is silly. You don't need a streamer week 2, but you just wanted somebody in there. You're adding him. You're holding on to him, basically, was the point. After week 1, that did not look good. That did not look like a good take. Looked like I lost that one. But since week 2, he's been getting more work. And I knew why, though. I knew my reasons for saying before the season, before we'd seen him, what could possibly happen, which is that Raheem Mostert, being the veteran back that when healthy is very good, and Mike McDaniel knows him, and he knows Mike McDaniel, coach, we could easily see a situation where he's the lead back. So I said, let's go with it. And it worked out. So again, in the future, there's going to be players and things I say you should add. And it's going to feel weird. But I'm telling you guys, if you're following the process, it works out. Generally. Not every single time, but it can work out for you. All right, so week 5, I wanted to go back and see some of these for 2 weeks ago, for the week we just had. Again, Alger. Now, Alger didn't do great points-wise, but it was encouraging that he was out there and got more work. That's all I was saying. I'm standing by the David Montgomery take. Same thing, Robinson. I knew Robinson wasn't having a great week before against, was it Jacksonville? Who was it? But yeah, I figured not. And wide receiver Courtland Sutton, trading for him, yeah, absolutely should. We were trading Herbert high, Duvernay high. I can take that I can take the L on that one because Bateman got hurt. At the time, I didn't know he was going to get hurt. Conklin, if you want to sell out on him now, I think he's still going to be part of the offense, but I don't think that offense is just going to have so much volume. And then Mixon. Mixon's a hard one for me, especially in one league I have him in. He is getting you points. He is getting me points. The moment I don't need him and I can trade him for something else, I am doing it. That was kind of the point. It wasn't just you need to go out of your way and just sell him for nothing. All right. The streamers we had in week 5 are referenced it. Wentz and Ryan Tannehill playing each other. Carson Wentz 22.6, Ryan Tannehill 11.5. So hopefully Carson was out. Isaiah McKenzie, but I did give credit to J. Zacharyson and talking about as a backup, you can go with Shakir in case McKenzie's out. McKenzie was out, so Shakir it was 16.5 points by him. And Benjamin, a lot of this came on a big run at the end, but just between everybody else getting injured, he's going to be the guy here. Tight ends, I hope you did have Njoku, because the other guys, Juwan Johnson, Noah Gray, did not go so great. 14.8 points for Njoku, but only 2.3 for Juwan and 1.7 for Noah Gray. Those weren't great calls, I guess. 9 points by the Jacksonville defense. Special teams, I'll take it. And those were the teams on bye last in week 6. So the week we're actually currently in, you are in. So the Lions, Houston Texans, Raiders. So you got Carr and Adams and Henry and Amon-Ra and Hawkinson and Damian Pierce and Brandon Cooks, right? So you got all these guys out. So be looking for alternatives. Guys, check out the website at fusionffb.com. Check out Twitter at fusionffb. Thanks for watching. Hope you are going to have some of these streamers ready to go for next week. Hopefully you saw who I had for this week. And if you still need somebody, you can go look for them too. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.